teeth are like white.
They
Look
are.
at that. Hey guys, I have Miss Sheryl here today with me. She is a client of mine, has been for how long? Forever.
It feels like it.
In a good way, right?
Oh, absolutely. Only in the best way.
Yeah. So, like, she is also, we're the same person. So, whenever she is being a brat in here or whatever, it's like I immediately see myself. And so I have to be like, oh, that's how I act too. So have a little more compassion. I'm just playing. Everybody's a brat in here at some point, including myself. So, yeah, so I see a lot of her reactions in myself, and we have those conversations when we're in here too, and I think we've helped each other deal with some things along the way. She calls me out too, so I don't always like that, but
and neither do I.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. I'll see this like look come over her face, and I'm like, oh, here we go.
Training stops, therapy starts.
Right. Right. So the reason that I asked Sheryl to do this video with me today is I feel like people have stories that are super important, and I also feel like people have stories that sometimes they're uncomfortable telling, and so they basically get defined by this story. And I have dealt with several clients and friends that have gone through what we're about to talk about in a second, and I've seen both, I guess, outcomes. So I've seen people get super defined by it in terms of like they can't get past it, and then I've also seen people like Sheryl come out the other side. So anyway, I'm just gonna let her talk and kind of tell you about, basically she had some surgery done. How long ago?
March of 2014.
Okay. And so I'm just gonna let her kind of explain about what it is, what happened, just what is the surgery called to begin with?
I had gastric sleeve surgery. There are 3 surgeries. There's lap band, which is where they put a band around part of your stomach to make the pouch that your food goes into smaller. There's gastric bypass, where they disconnect the tubage and bypass some of your vital organs, that stressed me out beyond belief, to think about reworking the way that it's supposed to be working. So I opted for sleeve, which is where the surgeon goes in and removes a portion of the stomach that you have stretched out. And basically it ends up looking like the sleeve of a shirt, which is why it's called that. It's a much smaller, it holds much less. And in the beginning, right after the surgery, it holds about an ounce.
Okay.
Which was huge because you don't get here or there without some self-regulation issues,
right?
Portion control and such. So that's a big hurdle. But as far as trying to find the perfect solution, I've done it all. Weight Watchers, Jenny Craig, Nutrisystem, the cabbage soup diet, the no fat, the no carbs, the no anything.
Right.
And I had done quite a bit of research prior to making the decision. But what really happened was some personal ish went down in my life, and I figured that it was time that I started figuring out who I was for me. Mm-hmm. And so that's when I made the decision to actually go under the knife.
Okay. Okay. So when you went to the surgeon, mm-hmm. what did they do in preparation for the surgery?
Not enough. So you meet with you start the process, and it's incredibly stressful because insurance is pretty finicky about whether or not it's cosmetic or necessary, medically necessary.
And so you have to be a certain weight.
You do.
Right?
You have
before
to.
you can even qualify.
Not only do you have to be a certain weight, you have to carry a certain number of comorbidities. So whether you're pre-diabetic or diabetic, or if you have high blood pressure, or if you have, so they scale your score based on how many of these comorbidities you have and how severe they are.
Right. And so, like, I've even heard of people being sort of borderline on that,
Yes.
and them gaining weight or
In
something
order
like
to
that.
qualify.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Which is crazy to me.
Right. The first time I investigated this surgery was probably about 10 to 15 years ago, and there was no such thing as sleeve surgery. It was either lap band or gastric bypass, and I didn't qualify because I didn't have enough comorbidities. I was obese, but I didn't have high blood pressure, and I wasn't pre-diabetic, and so I never made it past the initial consultation and pre-surgery
Gotcha.
stuff.
Gotcha, because it's expensive.
It's very
Like,
expensive.
you want the insurance to pay for it.
Yeah, it's
right?
about 12 grand.
Yeah.
12 grand. $12,000.
$12,000.
Just get that really clear in your head. $12,000.
So did they do like counseling sessions with you?
Yes. Somewhat. There are check boxes that you have to go through, and one of the check boxes was that I needed to meet with a therapist. And it lasted about 37 seconds. I went to the therapist's office. I did the Myers-Briggs. If you don't know what that is, it's 972 questions that are nonsense. But it determines your personality type and whether or not you're emotionally ready to sustain this journey. It's such a farce. And then I went into their office. I can't even tell you their name because it was that quick. I made no connection with them whatsoever. We chatted for maybe 10 minutes at 6:30 on any given evening. And then it checked that box. And so I could move on.
Okay. All right.
So did we get counseling? Yes, it says so on paper. Did I get counseling?
No.
No.
So it's just like anything else that we try to, we want the easiest way out. Like
100%.
We're just naturally
100%.
like that. Yeah. But the easy way out doesn't teach us anything.
Correct.
And it also doesn't give us confidence.
Right.
Because I think in the back of your brain, you also are like, I tried to take the easy way out.
100%.
You know?
Because you deal with that in society. There are a lot of people who go, oh, you had this surgery.
Right. Right.
Oh.
And so, and also, it's both directions too. So like, you probably lost some weight.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So like, people will shame you for having the surgery and being skinny, and they will shame you for having the surgery and gaining the weight back. Yeah. So it's like you can't win with that. Yeah. But the people that remain small somehow figure out how to do the messy middle, which is like a Brene Brown thing that she talks about. When we don't dig in and get to that part of it, it doesn't get worked out. And so
and that part of it is not right here.
Right.
That part of it is right here.
Yes. Which is what I talk about all the time here. Yeah. So So like, let's talk about a little bit. So the thing that was, okay, so we talk about a lot about the voices in our head and like what we're telling ourselves.
Yes.
And I'm going to pick on her for just a second, but this happens with like a lot of my clients and myself too. So like I am on the same boat, all right? But like we'll be training and I can tell when she's looking in the mirror, like that the thing happened. The switch got flipped, you know? And I mean, really. And it's like, she knows I know, and then we're like, oh my God, what's happening? We gotta stop training now. It's like, now we're in therapy, right?
Yep. Now I just sit down, tears start, here we go.
Yeah. But it's true. It's like, and it happens sometimes maybe sometimes it happens when we're doing something that's hard, and Sheryl has a moment of like, I'm a failure, and so I can't. Yeah. And it's like it's literally like a switch gets flipped, and it goes from this is hard to I'm a failure.
Yes.
Just like that. And my guess is you struggle with that for a long time.
Absolutely.
In various areas of your life.
Absolutely.
And being able to pop back out of that is the work. That's what you have to learn how to do.
Yes.
And sometimes it takes us a long time to figure it out. To figure out how to do it.
Sometimes.
And sometimes we don't know that we can do it. It's just like, it's an automatic thing that happens with us all the time. And I feel like we are similar in this because I have had an eating disorder. I don't feel like I'm there anymore because I've done the work mentally to learn how to switch my brain. I have days and I have moments where it's harder, but I don't get stuck in the dark for nearly as long anymore. And I can see the same thing happening with Sheryl too. But that is the key to the whole weight loss thing, the eating thing. Because once you mess up on a diet or whatever, and you make that switch to I'm a failure, instead of I had a bad day, what can I do to make it better? Why did I react that way? Like instead of like doing those things, that work, we just go, I suck.
Right.
And
look,
and then
I blew it again.
Yeah,
so let's have a dozen donuts.
And then let's just ruin it.
Margaritas instead of two.
Exactly. Let's just keep going. And tomorrow I'm gonna get up and it'll be fine. But it is not fine tomorrow because you look at it and you're still there. And so you're like, well, I'll just stop at the McDonald's on the way.
That's right.
You know, whatever.
Absolutely.
And it's just this.
It manifests.
Exactly.
It's that rolling stone.
So let's also talk about a little bit about. So you had the surgery. How much weight did you lose?
89-ish.
89 pounds-ish?
Pretty close.
Okay.
I'm not good at math. I started at 314 and my lowest weight was 20, so that's more than 100. 208.
She lost a lot. She lost a lot of weight.
Hey, math. I teach your second graders.
We can edit that out.
Or not.
Okay, so you lost the weight.
I did.
You were feeling good.
Fabulous.
About yourself. So what started happening to regain the weight?
The exact same thing that happened when I gained it the first time.
Okay.
The voices that committee, they're quite negative.
Yes.
And they hold counsel a lot.
Yes.
Life wasn't perfect.
Right.
It just wasn't, and I wasn't equipped to deal with the changes that I was seeing, that I was receiving from other people. The attention or the acceptance that I thought that's exactly what I was looking for. It wasn't what I thought it was going to be. This wasn't what I thought it was going to be. And so
we feed off approval from
100%.
others. Yeah. And if we've been overweight or we've been on the outskirts of likableness or what we consider likableness, that is something we crave.
100%,
right?
yes.
Yeah. But the problem with that is when we do the behaviors to get the approval, we figure out pretty quickly that doesn't fix whatever it is.
Right.
It doesn't make you love you anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. No.
You have to do the I love me first part first.
Right.
And then if you get some approval, it's okay.
That's great.
Yeah. And if
you
you
know
don't,
what to
it's
do
okay.
with it. Right.
Yes. Yes.
And when you don't, it's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it didn't, and it was slow. I mean, the first year after the surgery for anybody who has it is a honeymoon, and it feels fabulous because literally the weight melts off of you, which is the problem because there's no work involved in that at all. It just happens. And it's not going to continue happening. And when it doesn't, which is pretty spot on, 12 to 14 months out, is when things start changing and you realize, oh, hold on. Wait a minute, this is, what happened? Nobody told me the train was stopping, and the train stops.
Right.
And you can either fuel it and push it in the other direction, or it can start rolling right back down that hill. When it doesn't, which is pretty spot on, 12 to 14 months out, is when things start changing and you realize, oh, hold on. Wait a minute, this is, what happened? Nobody told me the train was stopping, and the train stops.
Right.
And you can either fuel it and push it in the other direction, or it can start rolling right back down that hill.
Right. Because you start to you just keep doing the things that you probably already
Always done.
Yeah, you're
Always
using
done.
the same tools that you had before.
Yes.
Right.
Because nobody put any other tools in your toolbox. You still have that sweet little toolbox that you had when you were 314 pounds.
Right. Which I think is such a disservice to people that are getting this done, because it makes the issue worse. Because
yes,
not only have you it's a very public thing when you have a surgery like this.
Mm-hmm.
Because people are like, what the hell did you do? Like, because you do lose the weight really fast all of a sudden. So even if you're not telling people, like, they're like, what'd you do? What's going on? How do you do this? Yes.
Right.
Like, you're a star at this point.
And they want the magic potion.
Yes.
Because they want the happy ending. They don't want the messy middle.
Right.
So they want to know that if you could sell it, if you were a carpetbagger.
Yeah. Yeah, and I deal with this too with people that have, it's such a big thing anymore, but when phentermine was a big issue, I've had, everybody that's ever done it lost weight on it.
Absolutely.
But when they tried to go back and do it again, because they gained the weight back every time.
Fast.
Every time. When you quit,
a few of the weight's friends.
Yeah. Yes.
It's never just the weight.
It's true.
It's the weight and a few friends.
You're like, wait a minute. This is not how this is supposed to work.
Oh.
Let me get back on it. People are, hang on a second. Okay, we're still going. Make sure that didn't cut off.
I hope not, because it's happened about 3 times. You just haven't noticed.
I haven't noticed it? Okay, good. Okay. So, what happens when so you've lost the weight, and then you start to regain the weight, and so that's when it becomes crystal clear in your brain that you don't have the tools and that you haven't done the work that you needed to do, and because you haven't done the mental work, what that starts to look like is shame. You know, it's
I'm a failure.
I'm a failure. Again. Exactly. And it's very public, and so that makes it worse, I think.
I agree.
Yeah. When you regained the weight, like, talk to me just a little bit about in your life, kind of what happened, like, to you mentally, and like, was it like a really hard time?
In the beginning, no, and my dad passed away suddenly in the middle of it, and that definitely affected my journey, whether it was a mess. It was not the messy middle, but it was a mess. And, but no, I don't think there's an event that I can blame it on. It happened because I'm not prepared, willing to make the changes that are necessary to sustain it.
Yeah, but I think that the problem, like, even with what you just said, like, I don't even think you know, there's a point where you're like, you think you know what that is. You think that what it is I don't have willpower not to eat.
Right.
I don't have willpower to say no to these foods.
Right.
I'm weak. I'm weak-minded. I don't have it in me, la, 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 la. When the reality of it is that what you don't have is, like, compassion for yourself and love for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong about any of these statements. I just feel like, for me, like, I remember I was a binge eater, and so those things, I was triggered every time.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't like all day, every day, I just ate like shit, and I don't think you're that way either.
Mm-mm.
I think there are moments where you overeat.
Yes.
And it is emotional.
Mm-hmm.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just snowballs into these just self-loathing, I am nothing, and it's just downhill from there. It's like you're trying to, like, bury it with this
Absolutely.
food.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so before I figured out, some tools for even myself, I would do the same type of things. I mean, I would drive around my car and stop at 6 different fast food places, and because I didn't want to order it all at one place, because then they would know that I was going to eat all that. I wasn't taking it to somebody, So I would stop at all these different places, and I would eat it in my car, and then that way I could throw the stuff away before I got home or whatever, to whoever was there. But those kinds of behaviors happen. Like, I was trying to, I couldn't figure out how to stop it.
Right.
But we've talked about a little bit in here how it's too hard for you to go from I am overweight and I feel like shit about myself and I'm a failure to this positive, like, it's hard to make this, like, positive statement about who I am when you're way down here in the bottom of it.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
It doesn't sound real to you. You don't believe it.
Right.
You're like, why am I saying this out loud? This is dumb. This
That's
doesn't
why I don't
work.
have the Post-it notes
Yes.
on my mirror in the bathroom,
Yes.
because I'm like, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't mean that.
Exactly. So, like, for us, like, a one thing, like, we talk about for Sheryl is, like, because she has this badass hair, where I'm like, find something that you like about yourself and that you know is badass. One is her tan that she always has, and she knows it's badass, and her hair. And so, like, sometimes I make her say,
My hair is badass.
I love my hair. I got this badass hair because like she believes that. She truly does.
I do.
And it pulls you out of that like just deep dark shit.
Right.
You know? And then you're able to work out of it a little bit more and start like turning the brain around, you know, and getting back on track or back to, you know, feeling good about yourself and stuff like that. And I know I talk a lot about meditation, and some people do it, some people don't, but I know the one thing that it has helped me with the most is being able to shorten the time periods of like what I consider recovery. Yeah. So like when I fall off, which I still do too, the time between that and getting back up in my brain gets shorter and shorter and shorter. And I think that's why it's important for when you're starting to do this, when you're starting to try to self-love and try to figure out how to stop these cycles that are ruining you, you have to get back to normal. And so like, I know you've probably done this too, but like, so you had a terrible day or whatever, and then you say, okay, tomorrow I'm gonna not eat. Like, how many times have you said that to yourself? Well, I'm not gonna eat tomorrow. Well, how long does that last?
37 seconds.
Yes. Because you're like, that's all you can think about.
That's all.
You know? When if you would just say, I'm going to just be normal tomorrow.
Right.
And if normal for me is I'm going to Starbucks and having whatever that is, maybe it's not the healthiest thing, but it gets me back into my normal, like do that.
Right.
You have to do that.
Right.
It doesn't, what happened yesterday doesn't matter, right? Yeah. So like those are just like some little tricks or tips or whatever that have helped me and that I feel like help my clients and help Sheryl and stuff too. But I really wanted her to tell that story because I feel like when you tell your story, it gives your power back to you. It lets you be able to control the outcome from here out. Because when you don't, I'll tell you, when I told on Facebook that I had an eating disorder, that was when something changed for me. I mean, it did. It's like I could let it go. I didn't have to hide and make everybody think that I was this perfect person anymore, you know? And it helped me hear other people's stories because people came out of the effing woodwork. Not like right on, I mean, some people did on the actual post that I did, but it was private messaging, it was texting, it was people like, oh my gosh, people I had no idea about,
right?
You know, and you just don't realize how many stories there are out there.
Right.
People deal with the food thing all the time. So many people, whether they're this big or they're this big, it doesn't matter.
Right.
It doesn't matter. You can't tell by looking at people, you know, what they're dealing with.
Well, addiction is addiction.
Period.
Food is just, you know, we can't cold turkey.
Right.
Like an alcoholic or a meth addict can do. You know,
yeah.
We can't just not touch it anymore. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
And societally, you know, everything's built around it. Norman Rockwell, the pictures of the family at the table, and Thanksgiving, you know, that's when you're going to be with your family, and it's joy, and it's, you know, and even marketing, you know. I remember getting just absolutely incensed when, for a short time, Hershey's ran an ad that said Hershey's equals happiness. And I was livid because I thought,
no, it's
not. It actually doesn't have anything to do with it.
Right.
But there it was on national television, and all of these people, little people, big people, children, adults, all these people were thinking, so that's what's going to make me happy. I'm going to run out and buy Hershey's.
We go get some chocolate.
Right. Which would have been so much better for me because a Hershey's is like, what, $1 something? And I chose the $12,000 route. Equals happiness? No.
Yes.
So, yeah. There's that.
I remember somebody was doing some kind of diet. What was it? You came in here, you were on board with it too.
Oh.
It was something that I have preached against, like, since you walked in the store.
300 calories every 5 hours.
Yes.
No, every 3 hours.
Every 3 hours.
And so Hope looked at me and said, so, 3 times 5 is 1,500 calories a day. Yeah. And I was like, and the part that broke me, hurt my heart, was when she looked at me and said, so what is it that they're doing that makes you want to invest in what they're saying more than what you want to invest in what I'm saying? And I was like, ugh.
But it was another thing being thrown at you of this easy way out.
Sure.
Let's do this easy thing. You know, it is never easy. It's never going to be easy. If food is an issue for you,
It's never going to be fast.
it's
either.
never going to be fast. You have to do the hard shit. You have to learn to say no when you don't want to say no. You have to get uncomfortable. And for some reason, like 1,500 calories doesn't sound uncomfortable until you have to try
Until
to
you're
do
living
it.
in it.
Yes. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God.
Who thought this was a good idea?
I'm
Yeah.
dying. I'm starving to death.
Absolutely. And then
I've had all my 1,500 calories and it's not even 10 a.m. yet.
So then you try intermittent fasting.
Right. Yes. So that's a big thing right now. It's like the diet. It's not the diet.
It's never the diet.
It's what are you gonna stick to?
It's never the diet.
Yeah.
Which is why it's a 17 gazillion billion trillion quintillion dollar business.
Exactly.
Because it's never the diet.
It's not. But we get through those things. We get through those times.
They're a little bumpy. But we do get through.
Yeah.
She usually makes me cry.
I don't make you cry.
Every single time.
You're already ready to cry when you come in here.
You brought those tears with you.
But I can totally see where it's changing for you. Like, and I think, as trainers, that's an important thing to remember is that everybody has their own journey. And it is not easy for everybody. I had a trainer one time tell me, if I've had a client for more than 9 months, I just tell them, to go on to somebody else because, like, obviously I'm not helping them. And I'm like, God, like, I've had clients for a really long time.
Which brings me to a story because that has been part of my journey too, is feeling like I was disappointing her. Feeling like her job as a trainer was to make me thin. And that's so not her journey. That's not her job at all. But there were days when I thought, okay, I just need to stop because this is not how someone who trains twice a week or 3 times a week or whatever is supposed to look. Which is another one of those societal things and another one of these things. And so once she gave me permission to make the decision and say, this is what it looks like. This is what
success is. So
Yes.
so a lot of times people, they equate the weight loss with that's the only way that I'm successful.
Correct.
And I feel like we've been successful in a lot of different areas.
My gosh.
When she first started, I feel like we built up so much strength, like crazy strong. And then we just recently went through a mobility program, and knocked the shit out of that. And so like, excellent, excellent progress on that. Like,
yeah,
no denying that.
There are things that I can see, and I'm the worst because I can't ever see any of it. But there are things that I can see because I can do them now, and I couldn't when I met her
Before, yeah. And just like huge, I know she probably doesn't always catch it, but like just the words that come out of her mouth, and that when she's talking about things that she sees on the outside, so like dealing with coworkers or friends or whatever, she talks about things differently. And that's what matters to me. Like that's where I feel like if the weight loss thing is important and it's gonna happen, that's how it's gonna happen.
Right.
When
I'm changing the dialogue.
Yes, completely.
In here and
yes,
the coming in and the going out.
Yeah. And it's a lot. It's so much learning.
Yes.
There's so much learning in what foods do, what foods are good for you, what foods we're told that are good, good for us that aren't, or maybe not in the
amounts. That are told that are not good for us that I should be.
That are, yeah. And it's like incremental changes in accepting all of it, because it's hard just to go from I eat out all the time, I stop at Starbucks every day, I have drinks with my friends every other day. It's hard to change all that at one time. You don't 100%. Want to, and you feel like your whole life is being like taken away from you or whatever.
Yeah, I dropped the Dunkin' Donuts. They miss me tremendously.
I think like what we were talking about, the time periods between kind of falling off and getting back are so much shorter.
Right.
Than even when we first started working together. Like I can tell when she's had a bad couple of days. Just like people can tell it on me too. But it's like 2 days later, I can tell. I'm like, she's back on it. Like I can tell she cleaned it up. She's feeling better. She's got control of it. Yada yada. So I think just at the end of the day, like we have to redefine what success is, and we have to openly talk about the bullshit that we get thrown at every day.
Yes.
And we have to tell our stories sometimes. Like that's one of the reasons I wanted to do some of these videos, is because people's stories matter.
Yes.
And it helps somebody that's out there thinking about getting this surgery done. They're going to think twice about it, or they're going to effing hire somebody after their surgery that is going to put them through the mental work.
Yes.
To deal with that, because you're not going to avoid it.
No.
You're not going to avoid it.
You think you are.
Yes.
But you're not.
You're not. Mm-mm. You're not. And some people aren't even aware that is an option. You know what I mean? Like they don't even know that they're messed up. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah.
Like they just think, well, I'm just a failure and
right.
I just can't do this. Well, there's a reason why. There's thought patterns that you have. There's, behavioral things that you can change those things. And
right.
those are the things that are going to help you be successful. Not the pills, not the surgery, not this particular diet, not the trainer, not the particular trainer.
Oh, it is the trainer.
I mean, but
because, well, with that being said, the journey led me to hope, and that's the one thing that I have maintained, because I could have quit so many times, but I still keep coming, because this relationship is part of my master plan. It's what keeps me when I am having the bad couple of days. I'm gonna see her and she's gonna call me on my bullshit, or she's gonna celebrate my success that I don't even know I should be celebrating, because I'm stuck in the middle of whatever dialogue is happening in here with that committee. But yeah, she holds me accountable. And that's very, very important when you're trying to change the dialogue.
Yes. Yeah, being like consistent with that.
Consistency.
Yeah, yeah. And sometimes we do need to be called out. And like I said, she calls me out. She called me out, what was it, the other day? It was something. I mean, she straight up called me out. What was it? We're standing right there in the kitchen. I said I'm flaky. I say I'm flaky all the time. And I'm trying to not say that anymore. I do have issues with flaking out on people. But I do say it a lot. That's one of the things that we practice in here is if I hear somebody saying the same thing over and over that's negative about themselves, I'm like, do not say that.
We're going to adjust that.
We're not going to say that anymore in here. And so she called me out. We were walking up into the kitchen and I was like, I do say that a lot.
And I said, nope, you're not allowed to say that with me anymore because you haven't been flaky at all ever with me. And it's negative and I don't like it.
Yes, and I appreciate that. I do. I really do. I need to be called on and stuff too. We all do. Because we all get ideas about who we are that aren't true.
100%. Yes, 100%.
Yeah. And if you don't want people around you all the time that are on board with that.
No. No.
You want somebody that believes that you're not that person, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, girl. Thank you for doing this with me.
Thank you for asking me.
You're welcome.
It's been a good thing.
It has. It really has. If any of you guys have any questions about what Sheryl went through with her surgery, or I feel sure that both of us would be more than willing to answer anything that you have. So you can leave them in the comments or you can private message me and I can get them to Sheryl. And otherwise, I just appreciate you watching the video and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
I love you. Oh my God, my foot's so asleep.